How do I show empathy for my spouse without getting defensive?
What's up, Tyler?
What's going on, Brannon? How you doing, man?
Good. Guess what I had for breakfast?
I don't know, biscuits and gravy or something.
No, just knowing me, what do you think I had for
Eggs. You
breakfast?
had eggs, and you had like 10 of them.
I got to get my protein in.
And I wouldn't be surprised if half of them were raw.
Tyler loves to drive home how much I love eggs. He like loves to talk about it.
When we were kids, I swear I saw you like drink raw eggs for breakfast
I
sometimes.
like, yeah, Rocky taught me that.
Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky taught me that. I was getting ripped and I loved eggs. And it was like, hey, I used to microwave them, fry them, scramble them, boil them, you name it.
Straight eggs.
And the incredible edible egg, man.
It's funny how things come full circle too, because for a time those were really, really bad for you.
I
And then
know.
it's kind of come all the way around that it's like one of the best things you can eat for yourself. And
I
I'm sure
know.
like 3 years from now it'll be horrible and cause cancer or something. So
I mean, you look at the egg and it's like God just made that to be ingested. It's just like here you go, like boom, fat and protein, like bam. So yeah,
oh man. Well, I'm glad you got that.
yeah.
So
Um, well, Tyler, should we dive in?
yeah, man, let's jump in. We got a guest on today. We're excited to talk to. John, glad you had the courage to come on the show. We're happy to help you. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Great to be here.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about you and your situation, and ask your question. We'll jump into it.
All right, right on. Well, first of all, thank you for this time together. I think your show is amazing and so relatable and inspiring. So thank you again.
Oh, thanks, John.
Welcome.
So I've been with my wife about 10 years, and we've had about half of those times dealing with my active addiction with betrayal, deception, gaslighting, multiple women with porn. Um, I had a lot of shame as well, the kind of driving these behaviors. After a number of attempts to be sober, I finally, with her kind of last ditch effort, like we go forward, we don't. You need to get into a program. Got into a 12-step program last year, and it was amazing. It was actually the SLAA, or Sex Love Addicts Anonymous, and excellent program. I went through the program, of course, the summer. Went to give the amends to her at the end of the summer, step 9, and I just dove into it fully. And it was an amazing program. However, at the time, because of my betrayal, active betrayal over the years, and even earlier that year in 2024, last year, the anger she had and resentment was so high, she could not bring me back into her life, even though I was working on my recovery, working on myself, and addressing my issues to get sober and get the tools. She was not in that state to bring me in. She was just too angry, and it didn't. So she wanted to move on, basically, in first week of August. She told me. So it was very depressive for me trying to move forward. I was unfortunately very codependent with her for many years, and that was a big problem as well. That codependency, I didn't know I was codependent until years into it. And she was a little bit codependent as well, just putting that out there. But the all the time when I'm relating to all the pain and trauma and damage I inflicted on her over the years, me to be able to sit and with her pain and be there for her and show that empathy was so hard to do. I felt because my shame was there, huge shame was there, and I could not bring it forward. And it was a challenge. And later, when I got more tools, more education through great training and podcasts and everything, and I started to provide some still drip marketing of empathy, if you will, I could not feel comfortable so much with it because it felt like I was reading a script. It felt like it was contrived. It felt like it wasn't coming out like from the heart. Even though I felt it, it did feel like I was just reading a script that she was expecting. It's like, John, why don't you just tell me you feel my pain, and so I repeat it, I feel your pain, and it feels terrible. Just repeat it back to her, as opposed to coming from me as an original feeling and thought, if you will. And so that that was really hard for me, and just being able, obviously, the bigger picture, to deal with the challenge of accepting all the damage and pain I've done to the woman I love and love dearly was terrible.
Mm.
So sorry.
No, this is really good, John. Um, I mean, it really sounds like you want to like hold space for her, give her empathy, but you just don't know how.
Well, and it sounds like it sounds like in the things that you're being taught when you practice them, it feels fake, even though your heart wants it to feel real.
Yes, yes,
John,
yes.
John, you've done the 12 steps. Have you done any other therapy or anything like that?
Yes, I had a CSAT therapy, a therapist. We actually went through a disclosure in 2023, in May of 2023. Unfortunately, I was not fully sober. I was not in full recovery. So the even the disclosure was not the best outcome for her. There were some missing items, and it was not for her. It was not a good disclosure, unfortunately. But went through that. So we've been through a lot. And also couples counseling. We went through that as well. So a lot of great podcasts, leveraging, obviously Therapy Brothers was amazing, and other sources, but mainly it's been that connectivity with the therapist direction and me following the 12 step last year. Well, this year, so just to bring you more current, this year, so we broke up. And then in the first part of this year, she reached out to me and she shared with me that her pain her anger, excuse me, has subsided some, and she's missed me, and she missed our life together. And so we weren't living together, and we started seeing each other. I actually had, unfortunately, some media on my phone that I had in there, and it showed that I was not in sobriety after I saw her again, and we had to have another kind of, come to reality to the that I need to focus on my therapy and back into the program and not get complacent. That she's back in my life, not get complacent, right? So that happened. So now, since that January, February timeframe, it's been amazing. But then when here I am being sober with, I was 73 days completely sober from everything, which included the porn and masturbation, which is the last piece, really, even though I've added empathy to my bottom lines now. The reality is when there's a trigger, accusation that maybe I've done something that triggers her from a past behavior, right? She sees something on my phone, like for example, on my YouTube app, she sees a dating app dating ad on my YouTube as I scroll to find a video, and she's thinking that her trigger is because of my past behaviors. Oh, great. It's coming up on his feed in YouTube because he's used a dating app recently. And I'm like, no. So I became defensive. I became minimizing, and I couldn't bring the empathy and lean into her, even though I'd done nothing wrong. I was very defensive, just like the behaviors of the past, just as if when I was in active addiction, my same response. But this time, even though I've not done anything, it came across from her. It hit her like a red flag, huge. And then there it goes again. So another layer of that empathy, that lack of empathy, even in sobriety, to lean in when it has to do with the behaviors of my past, still piling up for her today. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah. The question I have for you, John, this might be sound dumb, but what's the problem?
Um, I feel
What's
the problem. Yeah, I
what's
think
the actual problem?
yeah, thanks for asking that.
Yeah.
I need to unpeel that question to the core here. um, Unpack it, as they say. The problem is I have right now, I still have a concern that I'm going to hurt her and cause trauma. And when I when I lean, I think when I feel I want to lean in and do that, it's me just bringing back the past to keep that moment of triggering of the past alive by keep talking about it. And I think that's part of my problem. I'm not sure if it's 100% my problem. I know it's part of my problem is to keep it a topic, even though it might be great and healing for her. I think in my mind, like, why are we talking about what happened in the past? Things are great now. And I don't want to keep her in this mode of trauma and pain, even though I understand from my education of the last year or so is that her talking about it is part of her healing, and her and me with her leaning in is part of her healing. Me getting it is part of her healing, and I need to embrace that. My problem is I've not been able to embrace. Let's go into this pain together.
Why?
I want to sit next. I don't know. I don't know why. I just can't naturally sit in there and just be comfortable with the uncomfortable.
That
I could do it when she's like talking about her, sorry, talking about her bad day at work or some other things. I can definitely be empathetic and sit with her with her pain and be there. When it comes to just bringing up the past of all the stuff I've done to her and the trauma, I have such a hard time sitting there with it because it's so terrible and just disgusting.
John, what if I were to say to you the main reason why you struggle to empathize with her pain is the same main reason why you've acted out with sex and porn. It's the same problem.
Yeah,
Do you know what
What
it
coping.
does that
do you,
mean
do
to
you know
you,
what it
John?
is? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a coping mechanism, um, and avoidance.
Yeah, your defensiveness is a coping mechanism and your numbing out with lust is a coping mechanism.
Right.
So what's the actual problem?
But what are you pursuing in both?
I'm pursuing to help her. Well, I'm pursuing from a perspective of taking the wrong action like that.
Yeah, when you defend
Okay. Oh,
or when you act out with sex, what are you pursuing?
I'm pursuing relief from the stress of the moment.
Okay, think of the commonalities between these two
Yeah.
things. There's
Y- y-
there's there's a commonality here. Do you
Yes.
see it? One, it has to do with women, and it has to do with you seeking something from women, right?
Has,
Validation.
it has to do with you being at the center of the
Validation.
universe.
Yeah. I'm my value, validation.
So we're getting there. We're not there yet.
Okay.
You're seeking validation from them, which shows us what?
Shame. Maybe a
Okay.
little shame still.
What does that shame tell you?
My self-worth isn't where it needs to be.
Okay. Yeah, so something is telling you that it's really telling you that you're not lovable, that you're
Mm,
not that you're not okay.
mm.
And so with the 12 steps, with the work that you've done, with the disclosure you've done, have you done recovery work? Yes, you have. Um, However, have you healed the actual issue? That's the question, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that's where I'm at right now. That's the journey I'm in right now. I need to answer that question and solve for that, if you will. Yeah.
I think it's kind of telling what you said there, John, that in some ways you would almost welcome your wife having a terrible day at her job or with a friend, and she comes home and she leans into your shoulder and is like, man, my friend did this or my boss said that. And you could just hold that for her and show up
Yeah.
and be the support for her, be the rock for her, just not even have to fix it, just listen to her. But the minute it turns into she comes home and says the very same things about you, you find yourself kind of going away from the empathy and straight into the defensiveness.
Nail
It's
hit is hit on the head. Yes.
Yeah, I relate to that 100%. I remember coming home some days and my wife would be ticked off at something that happened in the neighborhood or whatever. And I'd be like, oh, good, I can step in and be the man for her and like da 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 da.
Yeah.
The minute, and then all of a sudden, like 5 minutes later, something would happen in that discussion, and now the target would be pointed square at me, and I'd be like folding like a cheap tent, just like I'm a victim. I'm trying to disappear. I get defensive to back her off, and then I'd walk away and go like, what just shifted? And the real issue was that that kind of like, you've heard the term before 1,000 times, but addiction is about trying to replace the God-sized hole in your heart. And there's something about seeing the person that I care the most about being disgusted with me specifically, you said, I don't know why I can't do this. Like, I'm like, well, nobody wants to be sit there and feel like what's being said to them is, you suck, you ruined my life. I'm the most important thing to you. And now I need you to acknowledge that you suck. Now
Exactly.
that's not what she's actually saying, but that's how we interpret it because of what Brannon's talking about,
100%.
right?
100%.
John, I'm not done yet. So, um, why do you need validation?
Well, I would say this, and going back a little bit in the origin story of us, when I first started dating, we first started dating, I found her to be this unicorn. I put her on a pedestal, and right away, I even shared with her. I would ask her, why are you being with me? Why are you with me? I mean, you are amazing. Why are you with me?" And I was just, I'd call out my faults or my imperfections, right? Right. And she was like,
But
"What are you talking about?"
John, hang on, stop right there.
Yeah.
You know, I noticed something right there.
Yeah.
You notice what you just said? Like already at the beginning of this relationship, you're coming to her and saying, like, I can't believe you want me, that
Yes.
you love me.
Yes.
You're showing you're like versus like, and this might sound a little like cocky or arrogant, but it's of like, of course a woman like this would want to be in a relationship with me, right?
Yeah.
Like you weren't there, right? You were more on that side of like, why would you be with
I've
me?
tricked her into this somehow. Like, what the
Yeah.
heck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
She was the most mature and amazing woman I've ever been with ever. And it was just such a shock to my system, and it made me doubt who I was. Yes.
Yeah.
My value, if you will.
I would say you already have this like underlying doubt about
Yeah.
who you are, right?
Yeah.
Um, which leads to back to my question of why do you need validation? Where does that come from, John, in the first place? When you're showing up, meeting her for the first time, or when she's showing up in her pain, or you're seeking it through your sex addiction, why do you have that doubt that you're okay, that you're worthy of love?
And there's the question.
Mm-hmm.
I um I know from my backstory also includes a very successful mother that I look up to, and she everything she did was amazing, and she changed careers and was amazing, and everything, and it kind of set the tone, and everything was based on providing, a goal based to her, like, my success is goal based, and so I aligned to that, I think. Um and then my previous relationships, I was more of, if you will, I was more of the unicorn in the relationship. I was more the one, the provider, the great person, the great man, the great husband, or great whatever, boyfriend. And here I am. Tables have turned in my mind that I did it. It's like it was internal. She did nothing. My wife did nothing to make me feel that way. Just be. But just where I came from, I came with that baggage. I'll just put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just acknowledging that there's a belief system here that is it even just what you said, you're starting to recognize where and how that belief system maybe started to form. When it started to form, you didn't know that. It just felt automatic. It just was the life you started to live, right? And
Yeah.
now you've gone through relationships where you were the hero and now you're the one who has to be on the bottom. And when you're on the bottom, you got to fill the void. And so part of where I think Brandon's going, and Brandon, you can correct me, is as you come to understand that this belief system fuels a certain kind of energy with which you approach relationships in the world.
Mm.
And that energy, unless it's become very conscious of the energy and the beliefs that are there, and then the individual work that goes along with deciding whether or not you want to subscribe to that energy and those beliefs, you're going to likely continue to recreate the same kinds of experiences that have gotten you in trouble in the first place.
Mm.
Mm.
You'll continue to play it out again and again until you turn and face the the darkest, scariest parts. And your protective parts have been working their butts off, and your exile is like 4 layers deep to even take a look at it, because your protectors have been so good.
Yeah.
Um, so like, it's interesting what you just said about your mom. She was a high achiever, goal oriented. So it was either, yay, John met his goal, he's the man, he's incredible, or John failed. Um, I wonder a couple of things. I wonder, what type of emotional connection did you have with your mom? And then also, where was dad? Like, what type of relationship was there with dad?
Yeah, my connection with my mom is very close, very loving. She basically raised me as a single mother for the most part. I lost my father when I was a young kid, a car accident.
Oh gosh.
So
How old were
uh,
you?
I was, I believe I was 11,
Oh
11 years
wow.
old. Yeah. Yeah. So I knew him.
That's a tough
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
lose
Yeah.
dad.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Was dad good? Were you close with dad before he died?
They were separated at the time. My only memory was positive, honestly. It was really positive. Just my dad, my father. I was, and it was tough. It was challenging, but it seems like I never really processed that, honestly. So there's
Yeah.
there's that, abandonment, probably issues coming later in life, manifesting in other ways. But to your, yeah, yeah.
John, have you really connected those dots though?
I did in 12 step. I did, and I saw a lot of my origin story, if you will, in my inventory in 12 step, and it was very revealing. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say there's always more work to do. I can definitely lean into that. I mean, more inventory.
We're talking about the fruit of you being unable to empathize with your wife in triggering moments, right? That's
Right.
the fruit of all this.
Yes.
Then here we are talking about the trauma that you had as a child, right?
Yeah.
And so like the thing about it is, like, doing a disclosure or even work in the 12 steps. Um, these are all good things to help you manage and get out of the behaviors that you've had in your life. But it'll come back to what Tyler just said, is these patterns will repeat themselves unless you actually, that this trauma that you've been through, John, it's there to either define you and create the outcomes in your life, or it's there to bless you and strengthen you.
Yeah.
The only way that it blesses you and strengthens you is if you actually go there and process and feel it and understand why.
Mhm.
Uh, does that make sense to you?
It does. It does. It's the action to how to do that is where I guess I have the question.
I know where we're pushing on you, John, is not what you came in and asked, and
No, this
maybe
is good.
maybe we can get there in just a minute with some actions, but I think where we're going, it sounds like the 12 steps have really resonated with you.
Yes.
And I hear you coming on the show and saying, okay, this has resonated. I feel like I'm starting to find new life. I see hope. I'm starting to make traction with my recovery. I'm staying sober now. I kind of like where I'm going. And then I step into this relationship with my wife, and that's where I kind of still struggle and fold, because I end up going back into this place of, even though I thought I was shame resilient, I still get defensive, trying to protect myself from being judged, rejected.
Yeah.
When you look at the 12 steps, they're kind of broken up. And your question is, what do I do? And we can do some what do I do in just a second. I think where Brannon's really going is actually, what are the first 3 steps really about?
Well, owning up to that, I'm powerless, right?
Yeah.
I've got an addiction, a disease, as they say, a challenge that I need to accept. I accept a higher power. I accept a more a community of solutions, and lean into it and work them. I mean, essentially, it's about um, accountability, ownership. and moving forward with, you know, established tools that will work, essentially.
Yeah. Okay. So the first three steps, it's interesting that you're doing a lot of step work in the like later steps, the 4 through 10 area, which is a lot of
Mhm.
doing, a ton of doing. The first three steps are actually about, it's a weird dialectic of taking accountability while surrendering.
Surrendering, yes.
It's all about surrender. And step
Mhm.
three is to submit myself to the care of my higher power. I don't know what your higher power is, John, but I would suspect that the wrestle that you're having right now is related to step three work as much as it is the doing work of the empathy.
Mm,
You have the recipe of what I'm hearing you say is this, that must be really hard. I'm here for you. You can say that to your wife all you want, but you can't give your heart to her because when she's criticizing you, you don't know what your higher power says about you. Like, what does your higher power actually say about who John is?
right,
Because if John's in connection with that, now John is stepping in, offering his identity and his strength to his partner who's upset with him rather than needing to extract it from her.
right.
Does that make sense?
It does. Yes. Yeah.
The that exactly what Tyler's saying. Like, you cannot fake empathy. You can't contrive it. It
I
doesn't
don't want to.
it can't it like you can't do be have empathy. Like, you can't. And that's the struggle. It's like I hear your desire to be empathetic. That's awesome. But if you don't go heal these deepest wounds and reprocess them and desensitize them, if you desensitize those wounds, your wife comes with a big trigger and you can roll with it because you've dealt with those wounds. But if you don't deal with those wounds, I can give you reflective listening skills for days and you can try to do it all the right ways and she'll feel it and you'll know that that's not empathy. Do you see what I'm saying, John?
I do.
So your deepest work, your deepest trauma work is actually the answer to be able to show up in empathy with her, because what she needs to know as a woman and as your wife is that, especially healing from betrayal, is that he's safe.
That
Like,
you'll
Yeah.
keep your structure under the pressure.
he's got
Yeah.
integrity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and what you're showing her through your weakness of not being able to hold strong in those hard times is that you're weak,
Right.
right? But you're coming on here saying, I don't want to be that. Like, I really want to be there for her. Like, I really do. You're right.
I hear
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I promise you, John, you have it in you to step up and be that strong man. But the answer is not Tyler and I giving you all these things so that you can go try it. The answer is for you to have the courage enough to turn and face that deepest pain.
Mhm.
And when you do that, that'll desensitize it. Now, Tyler and I do have answers for you when it comes to what do you do and how do you do that. Um, are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
I hope you have a pen and paper because we got
I'm,
stuff. We got stuff, and there's ways to get down to it and actually sit with it and be with it and connect to a higher power with it and process it and surrender it. Um, our Rising Sun retreat, like, that whole retreat is a process of that. Like, that, the whole experience that we put men through is an
yeah.
invitation to actually gain a new perspective and a new paradigm about what God has been doing with them and why.
Yeah.
But Tyler, do we at Rising Sun, do we get them all together and sit down in a room and like talk about their problems all day?
No,
That's
no,
not
it's
what
a
we do.
no. I would say I would call it an immersive first three-step process.
Mm,
That's really more about experiencing things than it is thinking your way through things. And that's kind of how we designed not only the Rising Sun retreat, but that's what we designed the Reclaim Your Heart platform for too, is to have those experiences, heart experiences with the deeper parts of not only just your trauma, but your identity.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So those are two things that I think Brandon and I are big fans of because we created them.
Hmm.
There's also the deeper work that you do, your step work. You're doing good job there. The other therapy kind of work you've probably done some with is I know Brandon's already referencing IFS and maybe even some EMDR ART type work. That's going to be, it sounds weird because that's not empathy work, and yet that's laying the foundations
Right. I
for
get
the
it.
empathy. So shame resiliency is the precursor to empathy. It has to be. And then when I have that, it's like you're asking two questions. It's like, okay, once I get into my shame resilient part, I bet you, John, like
Mm.
there's probably moments even with your wife where you happen to just catch yourself on a good day where you're feeling confident, you're more grounded to who you are, and she hits you with something and you handle it really well some days, I bet.
Mhm. It's true. That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. You're already exercising that
Yeah.
muscle,
Yeah.
right? And then there's other days when maybe you had a rough day at work or you got caught up in traffic and used all your willpower just not swearing at the guy next to you, and then your wife hits you with something and then you hit your shame, and then we call it needing to defend your supposed honor, as if there's any of
Mm.
that left, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, um, it's like, okay, so then I didn't show up in empathy because my shame resiliency broke down.
Yeah.
So
It
there's
might,
the
yeah.
deeper layer of the shame resiliency, and then there's the added layer, which is the easier part of learning the techniques of empathy.
Right. Right.
And
Yep.
we could teach you those techniques, but the deeper part is who am I when I show up?
Yeah. I need a stronger frame in my tent so it doesn't fold on me.
Yeah, there you
Yeah.
go. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
We can give you the canvas for the tent, but like, yeah, if you don't have the good frame, you know. So, it is that deeper work that needs to happen,
Okay.
John. So, how do you feel about that? When Tyler and I talked to you about that, what
You
comes
know,
up for you?
I honestly, I was thinking it was going to be something like this as a outcome is there's more work to be done that's not the same what I've been doing. Something else, something new, deeper. Um, I wasn't coming in and thinking I'd have to go back to my origin story for my backstory, but yes, I can see that connectivity.
Yeah.
And the shame resilience. Oh yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. So yeah.
John, I just want to switch roles for just a
Okay.
second. You're the therapist here for a minute, okay? And I'll just make up a scenario. So let's say that I had a mother that I was really codependent with. I was always trying to please her. I was always and she would give me good rewards if I pleased her and whatever. So then fast forward 25 years, I'm married to my wife, and my wife doesn't feel like I'm that honest with her because I'm always trying to please her. I'm always trying to be nice. I'm always trying to, and so I come into you for therapy and I say, "Hey, help me to actually like get my wife to like me. Like help me to get her to see that I'm a good guy. She just doesn't seem to like want to be close to me and like me even though like so give me some tools to connect with her to be to get her to like me. What would you say to me?"
I would say first that I think you need to love yourself first before you love someone else,
Yeah.
and to do that, you need to recognize that you do have a lot to offer, and you are solid. You are an individual of strength. You're independent, and you can be interdependent with her if you stand in your strength.
That's a good answer. I if
John,
you were oh go ahead, Tyler.
I just want to know before you go, Brandon, what's the emotion that's coming up inside of you, John, right now? What is that just welled up inside of you?
Hope.
Hope. Hope about what?
Making a change.
Hmm. What about acceptance of the truth that's already there, John?
Yes,
Aren't you already that guy? Aren't you made up
I
of
am.
that stuff?
I am.
Yeah.
Sounds like what you just said, like you didn't say it back to me. You just said that to yourself,
Indeed.
right? There is so much hope. But the focus, if you keep the focus on, I want to be good enough for her, then you're actually feeding the beast still,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But if we shift the focus to, I want to know that I'm good enough regardless of her, and I want to know that I'm loved, and I want to know that who I really am, then you'll be able to really show up for her.
Right.
It's kind of a catch 22.
Yeah.
Um, but that's the right order. Like that's the right order to do things in. So I would say keep going with your 12 step. You got good recovery capital going on. You can still use these things to support you as you actually go do that deeper work, John. Right?
Yeah. I'm picking up what you're dropping.
John, could I think where Brannon's going is the more important work, but could I just share a few thoughts about things that have been helpful to me when you're in the
Please.
day-to-day trenches with your wife with this
Yes.
work?
Please.
There's a couple of things, kind of just tools that I use for myself. Other people can kind of develop them the way they want to, but my goal is to want to actually show up with real empathy when my wife is hurting. And in order for that to be the case, I've found that I can't get stuck in myself and my shame, or else I can't be there for her. So,
Right.
have you ever played like the old computer games like Street Fighter? You know what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
you'd fight the
Hadouken!
guy. Yeah.
I kick a rookie.
Yeah. All right, man. Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about then. And then down at the bottom, it shows like your bars of life and like who's
Yep.
going to get knocked out first.
Yep.
I kind of this is a tool I've used before just to try to help myself hang in there. Is I try to gauge where my bars of life are before it's going to be too personal.
Oh yeah.
And so, and what I do is I actually create an avatar of myself out in front of my old self.
Mm.
My wife now comes to me and she's like, Tyler, like, I can't believe this or this or this, or man, I'm really hurting today. Or I remember this thing, or hey, from our past, do you remember doing this kind of thing in the past? And all of a sudden, I'm like, just like, oh, and I feel it. And I feel my shame hit right in my chest. I'll take it, I'll bundle it up in a ball, and I'll put it out in front of me. And I'll say, okay, I'm going to get to that in a second. But right now, I'm going to attend to her.
Right.
This is going to be about her. And then I feel my bars of energy sort of kind of going, my shame resiliency starting to fade. And before I hit empty, I'm practicing the empathy. Babe, tell me
Right.
more. I want to understand that. It sounds like that's a really rough place to be. I imagine you must be feeling XYZ. And when I get down to about 20% of life left, that's when I say something like, I want to give you the best possible response, and I'm not in the spot to be able to do that right now. So I'm going to go take a break. And then during that break is the shame resiliency work. I'm going to get grounded. I'm going to do some exercise, get the blood moving. I'm going to make a phone call. I'm going to get back in touch with the truth of who I am.
Mm.
And then I'm going to come back with more full bars and say, hey, we didn't finish the conversation. Do you need anything else? I'm here.
Mm.
Right. So
Yeah.
then I'm practicing the empathy until I'm at my breakdown point, and then I'm going and refilling the tank so that I can show up again. And I'm going to rinse and repeat that over and over again.
I got that. Yeah.
And what that does is it means I'm showing up for her in the best ways I can, as I can. I'm also then exercising the principles of shame resiliency. So I'm actually taking care of myself, which means I'm an equal partner.
Mm.
It's not a one up, one down situation anymore. And I want to show up as my best for her
Right.
because that's how I want to be in my relationship with her. Right. So I almost imagine that third character being between me and her. And that allows me to then be an observer of those feelings and then kind of show up the way I want to. So I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, it does. That's great. Yeah. I can totally visualize that.
Tyler, are you usually like Blanca or Dalsum or
Kyle.
I think you're Zangief.
I love
You're Zangief.
you know what's funny is I never related to Zangief, but he was one of the tougher guys.
He was huge.
I always related to like what was the guy that was just like the normal dude?
Ken?
Yeah,
Ken, I
like
think
the
Ken,
blonde haired
Ken.
dude.
The
Yeah,
blonde Ken.
Ken.
I would
Ken
always
doll.
be that guy. That's all I would do is that dude, and I always lost anyway. So
Shuriken.
yeah, he does that really good. He's played a lot of Street Fighter.
Yeah, in my day.
Maybe to just kind of like bring this back, or simplify it. Like, I actually really do believe in that. In that moment when she's triggered and it triggers you, and you if you can stop and catch it, and you can like just ground and just like get your power, like realize like, okay, like I'm strong, I can do this. And to Tyler's point, like if you have to think of a character or think of something that will help you feel who you actually are in that moment, it can be really beneficial and really helpful. And it takes you out of making it so personal, because now you're observing,
Yeah.
aware of what's happening versus being right in the thick of it.
Yeah. So how I'm hearing this is I really need to, in the moment, acknowledge that I'm going to be triggered now, or I'm being
Yep.
triggered now
Yes.
Yep.
myself. And I need to take a moment to assess. And while I'm taking that moment to assess, I'm also being there for her. I need to make sure that I'm taking care of myself as I'm there for her. I can't do one or the other. I need to do both. I need to be strong for her and be there for her. And it's about her.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And when I'm out of that energy because my shame resiliency is starting to break down, I'm going to go get refilled before it breaks down, and I do all the things that show my weakness again,
Right. Right.
where I
Can
get defensive or disappear or whatever else.
Right.
I want to give you another hack here that helps in these moments, and it's opposite of what you think. So in the moment that you start to get defensive because of her pain,
Mhm.
say out loud that you're getting defensive because of her pain.
Mm.
Okay, so
Good. Good.
acknowledge it, like, oh, hey, like
Not
I've
as a
noticed.
weapon.
No, yeah, yeah. Not You're not throwing it back at her. You're acknowledging it to you and her. Like, oh, I'm just noticing that I'm wanting to get defensive right now and not hold your pain
Mm.
very well. Um, just that. Do you know what that acknowledgement does?
Well, by kind of publicly announcing it, it shines a light on it and it weakens it, right?
Exactly. It takes it from your limbic response for survival into your frontal lobe, the rational part of your brain, so that you're able to choose how you respond to that trigger. So when you acknowledge it out loud, and also what it does is for her, it helps her realize, oh, like he's trying, he's being honest with me right now, and now you're up here in
Yeah.
this part of your brain that has some power over your behaviors versus just responding, um, with limbic response.
Yeah. Yeah. My analogy, I'm kind of visualizing like it's like you're in a battlefield and you sense something's wrong and you throw up a flare and then you see all these troops coming at you. Oh, geez, that flare just lit everything up. I can see
Yeah,
all of them coming at me, and that's my shame coming at me.
I love
That's my
that analogy.
defensiveness coming at me. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Oof.
Yeah. Well, John, thank you for coming on the show today. Hopefully, this will be helpful for you to
Oh, it's
re-listen to
amazing.
again.
Thank you so much, both of you. It's great.
Yeah. Love to catch up with you in the future. You're welcome to come back on, John, to see how things go. And
Would love that.
if you need any resources in terms of therapy or retreats or different things to do, we have plenty of that. So we'd love to see you in Reclaim Your Heart. We'd love to see you at Rising Sun as well.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Okay,
You
John, have a
bet,
great
John.
day.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good day.
See ya.
Thank you to our listeners for being here. Hopefully, this hits a nerve for some of you and might be helpful as well. And until next time, keep on keeping on.